Welcome to Awkward Teenage Years. My name is Will Clegg. I like to get that out of the way because I usually forget to introduce myself. Thank you so much for joining us here in this basement. If you've never been, how many people have seen Awkward Teenage Years before? Yeah. All right, a lot of you. Good. For those of you who have not, and for those of you watching at home who maybe haven't, this is a show in a basement where we relive our teenage traumas for your entertainment. And we've got a great selection of New York's finest storytellers here for you tonight, 5 of them, in fact. And we tell a lot of stories in this show about, being between the ages of 13 and 19, obviously. A lot of like firsts, first loves, first fights. I told a story about a fight once. I think I'm the only one who's done that. First time like doing drugs, that's always a good juicy one. We had one last month. We thought it was going to be the first time doing drugs, but then he tricked us. He was actually just thinking people were doing drugs, but they were eating Altoids. That was a fun one. But a lot of the stories, they're really about coming of age. That's what draws us to this topic, and we hope that's what drew you in tonight as well. So while we're waiting for a few latecomers to join us, I want to tell you a quick little story. This is something that I wrote actually back in 2019 for The Moth, and then I didn't get picked that night. And then the pandemic happened, and so I just never told it to anybody. So I'm excited to be able to do that tonight. So there's like a little prelude to this story, and Lauren, if you're ready up there, I got a little video for you to watch. So.
There's my awesome basketball.
Huh? U.S. Mariners are supposed to be the second half of this thing. Is there?
Whoa, hun. What's a whoa, hun?
That's a walk. You could prove
There's something missing on it? Well, like the bottom half of
If
the
anybody
stand.
cooked food and that would kill them.
Well, I tell you, I think somebody tried to put that together. Maybe they didn't put it together right.
But then I tried to get back to sleep and I couldn't. I stayed up till my 12.
You mean like a base part or the?
You can't stand up, Mom.
Because they're from Santa. Santa doesn't wrap gifts.
All right, so let's break that down a little. There's a lot to unpack here. That's me, age 13, first of all. My hair is kind of like getting long, as you can see, because I was rebelling a lot at that age. I had been a real goody two-shoes growing up. Like I did everything that my parents told me to do. I got straight A's in school. I went to Sunday school every week. And then I got to 7th grade, and I went to a new school. I went to a public middle school in Charlotte, North Carolina, and all of a sudden I started getting bullied for being a goody two-shoes, and I didn't like that, obviously, at all. So my reaction to that was to try to become one of the bad kids who bullies other people, right? So I think the way to do that in my mind is first step, grow your hair long. Second step is join a band, because then everyone will think you're cool. So I decided I'm going to play the drums, which my parents love because it's very loud, and it's also the most expensive of all the things you could possibly do. And so I'm receiving a stand and a cymbal for my drum kit here, and being a little brat about it, because my mom, as you can hear, was like trying to put this together the night before, from Santa, who my brother still believed in at that point. Didn't know how to put it together, and I just am endlessly irritated by that, because I was a real piece of shit to my parents, because I blamed them, for all of the bullying and everything, because I was who they shaped me to be, right? And then I started, having all these problems. So everything they say, as nice as my mom's trying to be there, I was just an asshole to her all the time. The other thing about this scenario is that, like, you may have thought, like, my mom's holding the camera because you hear her narrating, right? But it's not my mom. It's my grandfather, her father, who we called Papa. And Papa was this very tall, imposing Italian man who he loved us, so much, me and my brother and my sister. But he didn't know how to express that very well. So he had a temper. Pretty bad temper, actually. I was kind of scared of him growing up. He had this thing in his house called a Damn It doll on the wall. And what it is, this little stuffed doll It's pinned up to the wall and it has a poem on its chest. And I don't remember the exact words, but the poem is something to the, expressing like if you ever get really angry, you just grab this doll and you whack it against the wall and yell, damn it, damn it, damn it, until you feel better. I always wonder, like, what kind of person needs to have a damn it doll in their house, But he did. He had a lot of anger issues, which I learned later, like, stemmed from a very, like, kind of fucked up family situation that he'd been living in that I didn't find out until after he died, But I didn't know that as a kid. I was just scared of him. And in 1987, when I was 7, my sister was 1, my brother was 4, he got this VHS camera, like a big old thing, that you mount on your shoulder. And we all thought that was very cool when we were little. And every Christmas morning, he would film all of this, opening the presents. He'd walk around and film the place settings for dinner. And we all just thought it was so, so neat. I mean, it was just brand new technology. But then as the years wore on, it just got to be annoying. Every Christmas, we had to wait for him to get the camera set up before we could go in and see what we got from Santa. And then and he'd just sit there, never saying anything, just filming us. And as I got older, especially to this age, like I'm particularly irritated here because he's just pointing the camera at me, and I don't want to be on camera. Like I never wanted to be on camera. And this is the last year that he filmed us, I think. Partially because of me and my attitude. But everybody else would just get irritated with it too. There's another video, I wish I could have prepped it for you, where like my grandmother's opening his presents because he couldn't be bothered while he's holding the camera. And she shows him what he got, and it's like a pair of underwear. And he's like, what is that? She's like, it's a pair of underwear. Now why don't you put the camera down and go put it on? So this year, that was it for the camera. And the following year, on Christmas Eve, he had he shows up with the big briefcase, and everyone's like, oh, here we fucking go with the camera. But he doesn't take it out. And he actually walks over to me, and I think he's going to give me some kind of like tongue lashing, because he was like very fond of telling me how spoiled I was all the time, especially around this time of the year. But he doesn't. He hands me the camera. And he asks if I want to do some filming this year, because everybody else seems to be so annoyed by him, And I'm like 14 years old, and I've played around with cameras before, like at my friend's house after school. We make little movies. I have to edit everything in the camera, because we don't have like editing software. That's not even been invented yet. And so it's like little stop motion movies that we make that nobody's ever seen, and hopefully never will. But now, like, he's offering me a camera of my own to play with, and so I accept it. And I immediately recruit my brother and my sister and the other family that we're spending Christmas Eve with. And the kids all go upstairs, and I make them perform in a production of A Christmas Carol, which for some reason is like mafia tinted. Like everybody has New York accents. I don't know why I thought that was such a good idea. But we make the whole thing, like it's like 20 minutes long. And we bring it downstairs, we plug it into the TV, and we show it to the whole family. And they all just think it's hilarious, and my grandfather's just sitting over there like I'm sure he's a little hurt that like people want to see the thing that I did, but he's also like, I think, kind of happy that it was working for me. And that actually became a big part of my life, video, after that. Like I got a camera for high school graduation, a smaller one that used smaller tapes and had much better picture, and I took that off to college. And then I majored in film studies in college and launched my career in film and video production right after that. And unfortunately, Papa passed away when I was 23. And he never really got to see that part of me flourish, but I still do it today. I mean, I'm a video producer for a living, and I don't know that I would have done that without his influence and him just handing me that camera that Christmas Eve. And we still actually get together now, my siblings and I, and we watch these old videos and just laugh hysterically at how ridiculous we were. And now my brother and my sister have kids of their own. And so, we have nieces and nephews that we film on Christmas morning, and they hate it, like one of them's old enough to like just be like, don't film me anymore. But I mean, 20, 30 years from now, she's going to love having these videos too. And not this Christmas, but next Christmas, I am going to actually have a daughter of my own. To film. Yeah. And so I'm really excited to film her all the time. Probably with my phone, or one of the many cameras I have at the office. But, just thinking about her watching that all these years from now, I don't know, it just really makes me think the old man knew what he was doing. Even if he never really told us how much he loved us, like we felt it, and we feel it now through these videos. And I can't wait for all these kids to feel that love that echoes through the generations. So that's it. Thanks. Oh, and look at this photo too. This is that was the next Christmas, as my hair got a little bit longer there, and my sister Elizabeth and my brother David, who you heard in the video but didn't quite get to see. So all right, great. So I think we've had enough time to let the latecomers come. So let's get the real show started. Are you ready for your first storyteller of the evening? Yeah? All right. Great. All right, coming to the stage, she is a Broadway correspondent for Broadway, sorry, I said that all wrong. Broadway Radio, right? Yeah, daily Broadway correspondent for Broadway Radio. She has a great solo show. This is actually where we met a few years ago when she was performing on this very stage called To Free a Mockingbird. And it was just at the She NYC Festival where she won Best Actress. So really excited to have her on the show for the first time tonight. Please welcome Grace Aki.
Thank you. Oh God, I'm so thankful. I was like, I'm gonna be up here. How do we feel about generational trauma? Good? Half the room is like white and you're like, I can't recall. No. So yeah, my story's gonna be a little bit about that and a little bit about me, because everyone's awkward in my family. And we're gonna start with my mother, Margaret. That is a sad 6-year-old Japanese girl that you're seeing in a photograph. What happened was, this was a 6-year-old Margaret, my mother. She had only been in the US, in Atlanta, Georgia, 3 years, and across the street from her family's house in Atlanta was the Columbia Mall, and they got a telegram, something that said, hey, if you enroll your child in this Sears Roebuck pageant, you will get a $50 gift card if you win. And so her parents were like, we would like a gift certificate, please, and we need it. So they enrolled her without telling her what she was doing. They just put her in a cute dress and put her on stage, and she, of course, won with that winning smile. Really nailed it. Still have that little crown, and that is, yes, an adult man hugging a little child. That is continuity for the South. Yeah, but anyway, so she had to do that, and then she also had to, again, she has no memory of this at all. She just remembers that her parents were very proud of her for getting the $50 gift certificate for them. They got some housewares, which they really needed. And so, yeah, she performed with that, and then she also got to be in the catalog. Okay, perks. Model, child model with, again, that stoic face. So, cut to my upbringing in Dalton, Georgia, which is an hour north of Atlanta. Just for some context, Dalton, Georgia is the carpet capital of the world. Marjorie Taylor Greene represents that town. That's some more context that's unsettling for me. And then Donald Trump's second wife is from there, so a very a big range in the community of perspectives. But no, I love my hometown. It's really lovely for all of that being said. But I grew up with my mom, an immigrant mother, and she was a Japanese American mom, which means she was very cliche Japanese mom, but she also wanted to be an American mom, so she would give me compliment sandwiches. And anytime I wanted something, she would be like, you look beautiful in that, only if you can do the math of the discount. And I would be like, well, okay. But one day we were at this antique store, and it was called the Knitting Factory, and I saw this beautiful pink dress on this little mannequin, and it looked like a cupcake blew up on this mannequin. I was so obsessed with this dress, and it was $50. And I was like, Mom, I want nothing more than this dress. And she was like, okay, Grace, yeah, you can try it on. I went and tried it on, fit like a fucking glove. And she was like, yeah, you can have it if you can do the math of it to know what the discount is. And so I was like, okay, well, that's not gonna happen. But I'll make you another deal. I'll wear it a lot. And she was like, okay, you can have it if you wear it 3 times. 3 times doesn't sound like a lot of times. So that's fine with me. She buys the dress, And I wear it first to be you guessed it, a storytelling Disney princess, not Disney, Disney adjacent, for children's story hours at the Creative Arts Guild, for little kids' birthday parties. I was Princess Grace, not that one, my own. The IP was taken. And so I would do that around town. And then the second time was for like a father-daughter dance. Again, adult men dancing with young children. And so I did that. It was for like the Girl Scouts or something. And then I was like 13 years old, and my mom was like, hey, you haven't worn that dress for a third time. And I was like, yeah, but I'll find another time. And she was like, what if I told you you're gonna wear it in like a week? And I was like, where am I gonna wear it? And she goes, what if I told you I signed you up for a pageant? And I was like, oh, what? I am an uncomfortable 13-year-old girl. I do not come from this world. And she said, well, you're going to wear that dress on a stage. I have enrolled you in Miss North Georgia Agricultural Fair Queen Youth. And I was like, that sounds like a made-up title from a person that looks like a biscuit. And she was like, you're not wrong. And I go there and I stand up on this stage with like other kids that very clearly their parents had just signed them up for this. We're literally standing next to where they try the pies at the fair. There's a cattle area next door, which is the exact same look as being on a stage with other people. And I'm just in this big cupcake dress. And there's no talent question, like, you know, how pageants are, like Miss Congeniality is my understanding of what that might be. These girls are just walking around parading, and they're like, which one do you think is pretty? We'll take her. And that's like how it goes. And so I had a very floofy dress, and if we can go to the next slide, Lauren, that is what happened. I did win, unfortunately, and that trophy is next to my barbecue trophy, which is much taller. So then I was like, Mom, I did it. I am a pageant girl. I'm not. And so we can lay the whole thing to rest. I got to wear the dress 3 times. Let's cut to me in high school. I wanted another fancy dress that I found in a mall. And my mom made me the same deal. She said, hey, if I buy that for you for this dance. I was dating Jonathan Meade at the time, and he was very popular. He was the quarterback, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be asked to dances, as if I'm gonna be in demand. We're gonna have to go to events. The events are the Sweetheart Dance. And she said, yeah, you can have this dress if you can figure out the discount, and if you can wear it 3 times. I was like, 3 times isn't a lot. Why didn't I listen the first time? So I wore this to 2 dances, and it's my senior year. And my mom was like, hey, you didn't wear that dress for a 3rd time. And I was like, I know, but I'll find a reason to wear it. And she goes, what if I told you I signed you up for a pageant? And I'm like 18 years old at this point. I'm like, well, I feel like you could. I'm in competitive marching band. I've got a very packed schedule. I'm making C's and not passing math. And I was like, but Mom, I promise I'm gonna do something else. I'll wear it to another event. She was like, no, it's Thursday. And suddenly, because I have become so competitive at this point, it's all I cared about. For the next week, I hired a friend that had done all of these pageants. I said, how do I have to stand? Because there's a T stand that you have to do when you're doing a pageant. And I was like, well, I have to do that, and I have to do the whole walk. I want nothing more than to win this fucking pageant, because if I have to do it, I should win it, because it came with a $100 gift card. Again, we really got to get those incentives out there. And so I show up on Thursday, and I'm thinking I've crushed this before, I'll crush it again. This was 5 years ago. These people are pro athletes at pageantry. It's aggressive. They're backstage airbrushing abs. I kid you not. I've never seen anything like it. Not since, not before. And I was like, well, I'm gonna lose. This was fun, and I'm glad that I have this stupid fucking dress. So I just decided to not give a shit that day. I was like, I'm gonna go have tater tots beforehand. I'm gonna show up 20 minutes before and just do it. And I forget that there's this one part of pageantry that is important when you get to the higher ups, which is they ask you an onstage question, right? It's not just gonna be everybody parading around, you stand in a line, they say, we pick her, and then just say, yay, crown. They're gonna ask you a question. I had forgotten that. And so we get to the portion where all of these girls are asked with Miss North Georgia, again, the same title, what will you do with your crown? What will you do with your platform? And all these women are talking about the most like beautifully profound, like, I can't wait to like solve world hunger. I can't wait to like teach the children of the world to read. Like everyone has a gorgeous answer. And they're coming down to me and I'm like, I didn't prepare my 3 minutes. And they finally get to me and they're like, Grace, what will you do with Miss North Georgia if you were crowned queen tonight? And I was smelling what was going on outside of this room. Again, we're next to all the pies, we're next to the cattle, we are next to everything being adjudicated at the fair. And all I could think of was how badly I wanted a funnel cake. And I just looked out and I was like, okay. And I took the mic from the host. He was like, what are you doing? And I said, my mom said I had to wear this dress 3 times. So I am. And I was told if I won tonight, I would get a funnel cake. So Lauren, could you go to our final slide? And I did. That is my sibling Rowdy, my #1 fan for forever. And I did win, and we did get a $100 gift certificate. And what sucks is after that, they cut the funding for Miss North Georgia Agricultural Fair Queen. So you're looking at the last Miss North Georgia. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Right. I think you should say the reigning Miss North Georgia, right? Yeah, absolutely. That story makes me miss the South and all of its, just ridiculousness. Yeah. I've been up here for I don't know, almost my entire adult life now. And so I forget like how insane the South is, especially in the more rural areas, which, that's a good segue to our next storyteller. So one more time for Grace, everybody. All right, our next storyteller is a co-creator and co-producer of this very show. He is also an actor and a playwright and a storyteller. And his solo show is called A Public-Private Prayer, which he's performed at the Frigid Festival here. And what was the other thing called that you just did? I forgot. Emerging Artist Series, right? Yeah. Great show that hopefully we'll be bringing back in 2023. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Grant Bowen.
Will's being considerate of everybody's height tonight. I need a damn it doll. I really do. Okay, more Southern stories. Here we go. So, yeah, I'm 19 years old. Just made the cutoff. And I'm in my college dorm putting on my prom tux from the year before. Black jacket, black pants, white shirt, but also a bright red vest with a red tie with the same kind of embroidered pattern. And then, to top it off, I am adding a piece this night. A plastic glittery skeleton mask that covers the top half of my face. I am now ready for my first college date. This was still my freshman year as a theater major at the University of Montevallo back in my home state of Alabama. And I was taking every opportunity I could to broaden my social circle. Like, I was making it a goal to try to get everyone on campus to like me. And so that's why when Jen approached me and invited me to the music department's winter formal, which was a masquerade, I said yes. Now, Jen was about a little over 5 feet. She had brown hair, pale skin. We didn't really know each other that well. She was a sophomore. She was a music major. Our paths didn't really cross that much. We were just acquaintances. But this sounded like a fun party. And I thought, well, who knows? Maybe we'll get to know each other. Maybe we'll hit it off. So it's the night of the date. I get into my car. I drive over to pick up Jen from her dorm. She's in this black gown with sheer sleeves. She's got a silver mask with frills. And our game plan was to go have dinner at the Olive Garden, like 20 minutes away from the campus. And so as we're driving out, I'm talking to her. I'm like, hey, are you excited? This is going to be a lot of fun. And she's like, yeah. And I can tell she's already kind of deep in thought. And she goes, listen, I really don't want to wait too long for the food at Olive Garden. Like, I'd really like to get to the party sooner. Would you want to go to the McDonald's that's next to it instead? And I'm like, oh, okay, you want to go get drive-through at McDonald's? Sure. And she's like, oh, no, we can go in. And I'm like, I'm in a tuxedo. You're in a gown. I think everyone's going to notice if we walk into McDonald's. But then I think, you know what? Don't make a big deal about it. I'm sure this is not the weirdest thing a McDonald's in a college town has seen before. And so I'm like, sure, great, we'll go into McDonald's. We get there, we leave the masks in the car, and I was right. Like, as soon as we walk in, everybody's looking at us. Everybody's wondering why these kids in formal wear are there. I feel every eye in the place on me. But we go order our food, and we go grab a table in the back. So we sit down, and I just start trying to make small talk. But I notice that she's not really looking at me. In fact, she's looking past me. And whatever she's looking at, she is glaring. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she goes, those two are staring at me. And I turn around to see what she's talking about. There are these two construction workers at the table behind us. They're in their like neon vests. Their helmets are on the table. And they happen to be Latino. In fact, they're the only two Latinx individuals sitting in the restaurant. And I'm like, well, I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, look at us. Like, you know, of course they're looking at us. And she goes, no, those two keep staring at me. And this is how long it takes for it to sink in with me. Because in my head, I'm just like, well, that's odd. Everybody's staring at us. Why is she only mad about these two men who happen to be Latino? No. And that's when I realize that she's racist. She's being blatantly, openly racist. And to be clear, I'm not that naive. It's Alabama. We've always been racist. But contrary to popular belief, there's a greater number of us, myself included, who at least agree on the very basic idea that racism is bad. You can thank my parents, and you can thank Remember the Titans. But, so I'm just trying to make small talk. I'm trying to distract her. I'm just trying to be like, so, where are you from? How did you end up at Montevallo? Do you enjoy being a music major? You know, just trying to get her attention away from it. And she's just giving me these really short, clipped answers like, uh-huh, no, yeah, it's nice, uh-huh. And then at one point, catches me off guard. She leans past me towards them and goes, turn around, stop looking at me, and turn around. Now, anyone who wasn't looking at us in the first place, now all eyes are watching this scene between this angry college girl, these two construction workers who are trying not to laugh, and the confused guy in the tuxedo sitting between them. And eventually I just have to drop the pleasant demeanor. I'm like, stop, just stop, talk to me, stop looking at them and talk to me, please. We must have been hungry because somehow during all of this we finish our food. And she finally just goes, let's get out of here. And I'm like, thank God. Yes, please, this is almost over. So we go, we throw our trash away. We're heading to the door. We are almost out the door when, as she's leaving, she very loudly, for everyone to hear, yells, I don't like eating around trash. There was a millisecond, a split moment in time, where all I wanted to do was to turn to the restaurant and go, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know this woman. I am on a first date. I do not condone her behavior. I want to apologize. Everyone, especially you two gentlemen in the back, very sorry for disrupting your night. But I'm in such a state of shock and panic that the best I can do is go, okay, as I walk out the door. We get to the car, and I am mortified. Mortified. And she can tell. Because as we hit the road and go back to the campus, she starts to go, look, I'm really sorry. I know I got out of hand back there. It's just that my grandmother lives around a bunch of illegals, and there's always a bunch of crime, and I'm always worried about her. And at this point, she just becomes white noise because as soon as you make an adjective a noun, you're just doubling down. I'm just going, because I've had it. I don't know what to do. Like, we're not even at the formal yet, and I want nothing more than for this date to be over. But it's still a small campus, and I'm very aware of the fact that if I just call it off now, there's a chance I'm gonna be known as the guy who ditched his date halfway through the night. So I stuck it out. We got to the formal with the lights and the masks, and we're trying to have fun and trying to meet up with our other friends that are there, but there's really no recovering what had already happened. So we leave at the same time, and as soon as we get out the doors, we take off our masks, we say goodnight, we shake hands. And then we walk off in separate directions, completely understanding that this did not go well. And as I'm walking through the night back to my dorm, I kind of recognize that maybe I don't need everybody on campus to like me. I never spoke to Jen again, and I never went back to that McDonald's. Thank you.
Ah, yes, and that is a story that does not make me miss the South at all. Yeah, that's why we left, right? One of the many reasons why we left. I know, yes. The open racism is the worst. All right, one more time for Grant, everybody. Yes, thankfully there are so many more McDonald's for you to go to. All right, let's keep this show moving. You ready for our next storyteller? Yeah, all right. She is representing Queens tonight. She's a first-generation Armenian American. She's a writer, educator, and storyteller. Really excited to have her on the show for the very first time. Please welcome Aida Zilelian.
So much. Thanks for being here. Grant, our setting is similar. I loved your story. It is the 7th grade. It's early December. I'm in homeroom. Mrs. Barone, the homeroom teacher, stands in front of the class and she says, I have a special announcement to make. The school is hosting our first 7th grade winter dance. And so I'm sitting there looking around me, and the boys are now slumped in their seats. The girls are picking themselves up and moving to little circles, and now they're talking about what they're going to wear. And I'm sitting there because I have a special problem that probably no one could relate to. And my problem is that I have some peach fuzz on my upper lip. That's a kind way of saying I have a mustache. And moving forward, I'm going to call it the situation. I know about the situation because every time I turn the corner, my peers are laughing about my situation. And being raised by an Lebanese Armenian mother is not easy to begin with, let alone the fact that I'm not allowed to do anything about any hair on my body until I'm 15. I don't know why it's that age. I have a 10-year-old daughter myself. I would never hold her to this. And honestly, compared to some of my relatives, I got off pretty easy. My cousin, who shall remain nameless, not that you'll ever meet her, has had hair by the time she was 12 from the nape of her neck to her lower back that she had to spend thousands of dollars getting removed with electrolysis. So all I've got is my situation. But I know I need to take care of it before the dance because, frankly, I don't want to be ugly. And I don't want to look at myself years later and feel like I was ugly at my first dance. And I know my mom's got a box. She's got that arsenal somewhere. Goddamn where I know where it is, because I know there's a razor in there, and not that I'd ever use a razor for my face. I know that much at 13 years old. I know there's some Nair I know there's a Sally Hansen wax strips. I know that there's that mysterious tub that's been used. I don't know. It's been there for years, but she uses it for I don't know what. I look under the kitchen, not the kitchen, I look under the bathroom sink. I look under the nightstand. I can't find this thing. And I know I've got 2 weeks to take care of the situation. So it's the night of the dance. I'm wearing dark stockings. I'm rocking my Capizios. I've got my black corduroy skirt and a matching turtleneck. And the situation is still intact because I never found a way of getting rid of it. And my mom looks at me and she says, I'm going to the supermarket. I'll be back in half an hour. 3 beeps, you come downstairs, I drop you off, okay? Okay. I've got half an hour to take care of this thing. So I'm walking past like the dining room table, and my stepfather is wrapping Christmas gifts, and I see an extra roll of Scotch tape. And I'm like, bitch, this shit's good. So I grab the Scotch tape, knowing witheringly that it may not make the cut. So now I go into that drawer, the one where you find everything and nothing at the same time. You go into that drawer and you never find what you need, and you find the shit you don't need, and you're like, I'll need it one day. But I found packing tape. So I took that, and next to it was that big, thick roll of silver tape. I think it's duct tape. It's really sticky. So I'm like, I'm gonna take this shit. And I took the scissors and I went into the bathroom and I locked the door behind me. And at first I took the Scotch tape. I was like, I'll just try it. Like, I humored it. I was like, you're not gonna do shit, but I'm gonna try you anyway. And so with the expert ease of a professional, because I've seen it done so many times, here we go, rip. Here we go, rip. I look, not much happened, but let me give it another spin, because you never know. So I give it one more round, and nothing happens. So now I pull out the packing tape, because if my mom cannot rip open a box with her bare hands with the packing tape, then I'm sure the packing tape's going to remove all of this hair on my situation. And here we go, and I rip it off, and I rip it off, and I look in the mirror, and I look at the tape, and there is nothing happening. But I'm going to try it one more time. So I do, and this time the tears are springing out of my eyes, and my nose is starting to run because it hurts so bad, and it does absolutely nothing. So I look at the clock, and I have about 8 minutes, and I've got that really interesting looking silver tape. And I'm thinking it's gotta work because the scissor is caught even getting through it. And I know I'm gonna make this shit work, right? I don't wanna be ugly at my dance. I don't wanna be ugly. I'm 13 and I'm Armenian, and no one even knows what Armenian is back then. And I'm not gonna be ugly on top of it. And so I take it and I rip it with all my elbow strength of a 13-year-old on the other side, and it does nothing. And I'm like, I'm gonna give this shit one more shot, and it's gonna work this time. And I do it, one last shot, I rip, and I hear beep, beep, beep. And I know she's outside waiting for me. And when I peer into the mirror, I notice that not only is all of my hair, what is my hair made of? That's the other thing. It's like, what is it? What is it? Is it from like my ancestors in Armenia? Like, it's sturdy, it won't go anywhere. And now it's this pulsating pink something with the hair, right? So now I'm just like throbbing, and my face is covered in tears of just pain. And I give up, and I've got those little like patches of the adhesive that came off the silver tape that's also there. So now I have like Vaseline to scrape it off, because God knows I've got the sense to do that. And I get into the car, but I know that she's not gonna notice because it's dark out. And so she's driving me the 3-minute distance, And she says, I'll pick you up in an hour and a half. And I don't know what I'm going to do in the bathroom for an hour and a half. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. So before I even see the gymnasium, I hear George Michael singing Careless Whispers washing over me. And when I walk in, it's a dimly lit gymnasium that is unrecognizable. And sitting on the bleachers are all the boys, and on the right of me, I can still remember it, are all the girls with their punch, and they're just sipping their punch. And I'm looking at them for a minute. I'm able to, even at that age, I can't believe how, to just step outside of all of it. One girl, I guess, thought she was going to get a great haircut, and it ended up not being a great haircut, sadly. Another girl who desperately needs glasses chose not to wear them, and she was squinting the whole time. Another classmate of mine had a Band-Aid just taped across what must have been a pimple. And it occurred to me, not all of us, but like maybe some of us were in the bathroom with our own situations, you know? And that dimly lit gymnasium just gave us that freedom just one night to not think about our flaws and to forget about everything and maybe have a good time. Thank you.
All right, when she said that it was the same setting, was anybody else like a McDonald's in Alabama? So, it was the dance. It was the dance. I would have killed for peach fuzz at 13. I can't even really grow a mustache now at 42. So, yeah. One more time for Aida, everybody. Aida has a novel coming out in January 2024 called All the Ways We Lied. So look for that in January 2024. And if you're looking for some reading, I thought of this just now. There's somebody that Grant and I performed with over the summer named Sabrina Embler, wrote a book that's coming out tomorrow, actually, and they're a great storyteller. I just told a tremendous story at the Story Collider, which is a science-based storytelling show, if you don't know. And this book comes out tomorrow, and it's called How Far the Light Reaches, A Life in Sea Creatures. So I'm looking forward to picking it up tomorrow and reading it. If you love storytelling, I think you should check that out too. All right, let's keep the show moving. Our next storyteller, this is his third time on Awkward Teenage Years. Yeah. He is a Moth Story Slam champion, and he's an award-winning digital producer. Really excited to have him back. Please welcome Jameer Pond.
Make some noise for yourself. Thank you for coming out here tonight. Thank you to the two white women who asked me to take their picture by the Awkward Teen sign as well. Shout out to y'all. Okay. One of my favorite questions that I get asked is like, when did you fall in love with hip hop? Like, oh, Jameer, when did you fall in love with hip hop? And I like that question because usually people are expecting like an artist or a song or maybe even an album. I fell in love with hip hop when one of my friends slapped the shit out of my cousin in the face for saying fuck Tupac. And I just thought it was the most incredible thing I had ever experienced that time. I was 12 years old and I was at my friend Mark's house, and Mark and my cousin Brett were having a really intense debate on who was better. Mind you, both of these men have been dead for quite some time. So I'm 12 and not as passionate. I'm looking back and forth, and everybody's just, this is about Biggie and this is about Tupac. And my cousin said, man, fuck Tupac. And Mark stood up and he slapped the shit out of him and sat right back down. It was at that moment where I said, I gotta find a dead rapper to be passionate about, because if anybody asks me, I need to be alert because I don't want to get slapped in the face. And so I did just that. I found a dead rapper. And at this point in time in 2000, 2001, there were only like 5 notable dead rappers, legends, martyrs, They were called Tupac and Biggie. Eazy-E was one. Big Pun, and there was an underground rapper who was deemed a legend at 24 from Harlem named Big L. And Big L was tragically shot and murdered on his own block on 139th and Lenox Avenue in Harlem. And I gravitated towards Big L. One, because I didn't know too much about him, but two, we kind of looked alike. Like, he was dark-skinned, I'm dark-skinned. He had big glasses, I had big glasses, you know, so it was kind of a commonality. And I gravitated towards him. Now, this is back in the era where if you downloaded music on your computer, it would get sick and die. So, because I had been through that on my mom's computer already with Booty Talk 23, totally different story, I decided to be the Brooklyn journeyman that I was at that point in time and venture off downtown Brooklyn to the bootleg man. Now, at this point in time, you could get mixtapes, which weren't actually tapes, but CDs, about 60, 70, maybe even 80 songs of your favorite artists. And so I went to the bootleg man, who literally was a hole in the wall next to a Burger King with a sheet over it as a door. So because that's what it sounds when you knock on a sheet. And he moves the sheet back, and I mean, from top to bottom to the left side, it was nothing but music and mixtapes. On the right side, it was pornography and fake earrings. Very tempted, but I learned from the Booty Talk 23 thing that I'm not gonna go get the porno, I'm just gonna go get the music. And I finally found a Big L mixtape filled with 65 songs of tracks that were unreleased and songs that he had made. And I purchased it for $5, because that's how much mixtapes cost in 2001. And I went home and I just studied it. I studied what made him a legend. And even at 12, I could understand that he was a wordsmith. I understood similes, punchlines, metaphors, entendres, and he was delivering all that. And the thing that hooked me, though, to really show my maturity at the time, was a line he said, "You can ask Beavis, I got nothing but head." And at that point in time, I said, yo, this is the hottest shit I ever heard, man. Ask Beavis, I get nothing but head? What? And so I was hooked. I was a Big L stan from that moment. And I studied his music, from music to freestyles to interview, for about 4 years. And by the time I got to 16 and I was a junior at Bishop Ford Central Catholic High School in Brooklyn, I was a Big L encyclopedia. The interesting thing was that not a lot of people knew about Big L because he had died so young and he was very much underground. So when I started just repeating some of his freestyles and lyrics, people were like, "Oh my God, is that you?" Like, I'm at the lunch table, you know, we do boom, boom, boom on the table and making beats and rhyming. And I said, you know what? Big L, 95 freestyle, Jay-Z. And I just started going in on the 7-minute freestyle, which I won't repeat because I'll get canceled, because times are different now. And people were like losing their mind. And I remember my boy turned to me, he said, "Is that you?" And I said confidently and assertively, "Yes, I wrote those lyrics." I lied right there. Even at that moment, I said, I'm gonna be a rapper. Like, I just knew that I was gonna start rapping. So from that moment on, I changed my name. My nickname at that time was just Jay, or Kermit, because people thought I looked like a frog. But I went by the rapper named Jay Styles, which I also stole from 2 rappers, Jadakiss and Styles P. I was just stealing everything, and I started just showing up to school as a rapper, like having a certain rapper look, which, I mean, wasn't too intimidating. I just took my mom's old Dockers leather jacket. She was too afraid that I was gonna get robbed to buy me a new one. So she had this ashy black leather jacket that I put on with my Timberlands, because I'm from Brooklyn, and a New York Yankees hat, and would go to school and would do these freestyles during lunch. And the worst thing you can hear as a fake rapper after you've celebrated a week of success are these words. a freshman approached me in the cafeteria and said, "Hey, my mans want to battle you." I said, "Shit." I stay calm though because I'm a rapper. I'm Jay Styles. Jay Styles doesn't sweat. So I was like, "All right, who's your man?" It's like, "Let's see." And he was like, "Well, it's this guy named Chris. He's a freshman. He's a transfer." And right there, I said, "Set it up right now." I'm a junior and 16, and at this point in time, because I'm a junior, I thought that I could do anything better than a sophomore or freshman. It was just that. I don't care if it was cheerleading, handball, fuck it. You a freshman, you can't beat me. I'm a junior. You understand what that means? I didn't make the rules, I'm just following the rules, okay? I tell him to set it up. So we met 6th period during lunch in a stairwell. I bought my posse. He bought his posse. It's interesting. I like to say posse because it makes it seem like we didn't have uniforms on. Gives it a little edge, right? Like my first rap battle, posses were available and we came together. So we met in the stairwell, and I'm overconfident. I'm rubbing my hands, walking back and forth, and this guy, Chris, is just, he's poised, and he's focused, and he's calm, and he was like, "You want me to go first?" And I was like, "You should." Ooh, is what I heard in my head, because that's a real 90s bully saying, like, "Yeah, you should go first, chump." And I was that confident, y'all. And so he takes his bag down politely, does like that's with his shoulders, takes a deep breath, and begins to annihilate me verbally. It was an onslaught, I would say. I don't remember everything he said, but at one point he said, "I'll put you to sleep like an anesthesiologist." I don't even remember what he rhymed, but he had to rhyme anesthesiologist. I didn't know what an anesthesiologist was at that point in time. I had to turn to my friend and said, "What is that?" He said, "All you need to know is that you losing right now." So he finishes, and he had an incredible round of battle rap. And I go, "Well, I'm gonna have to dig deep for this one, okay? I'm gonna have to go someplace special." So I said, "Not the 95 freestyle. Let's go to Big L 98 New York City freestyle." So I went there. I even remembered to remove his name and put in J Styles, so there would be no discrepancy that these are my lyrics. And I'm going, and I'm impressive because I'm bringing my own charisma to the lyrics that I've stole. And I get to the part where, I'm about to say my favorite line. "Ask Beavis, I got nothing but head." And my friends just start losing their mind. Oh my God! Oh, that's so impressive. They were really hyping me up because they knew I was losing. But it worked in my favor. So when I ended the round, Chris goes, "That's Big L." Oh. What? Say, yeah, that's no, the whole thing. It was Big L. He's one of my favorite rappers. Like, he inspired me to rap, and all his friends were like, yeah, we know Big L. I was caught red-handed. I retired right then and there. I gave him a handshake, and then I put J Styles to bed for the rest of my life. And I appreciated that time, but it is pretty sad for me. I'll be 34 next week, and I reflect back on those times about Tupac, about Biggie, about Big L, and I realized how young these guys were, 25, 24, 26 years old, when they were brutally murdered and then deemed as legends or martyrs, and I just think that's such bullshit. I think about that time, and I was so inspired, and there's nothing more than I would want for Big L to be right here in this audience, for me to be able to tell him about the stupid shit that I've done to his legacy, instead of posting a RIP tribute to him every year. So to the rappers, the generational artists that we have lost, I say rest in peace, and to Big L, thank you for the inspiration. Thank you.
Man, I wish sometimes that we could tell stories that are not just teenage years here, because I feel like you would have to tell the Travis Scott story right after that, because if you know, y'all need to look up. It's online, I'm sure, right? Somewhere we can. Yeah. It's on BuzzFeed. There you go. Amazing story about Jameer featuring Travis Scott. Yeah, you got to hear it. Yes, he kicked him off a stage. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever hear. It's on a great podcast, also called The Volume Knob. That's about the intersection of music and storytelling. That's a good place to find it too. One more time for Jameer, everybody. Yeah. All right, so we have one more storyteller for you tonight, but before we get to her, I just want to quickly talk about how you can find us online. Maybe you're sitting out there tonight or watching at home and you're thinking like, I've got a pretty good story about my awkward teenage years. Well, we encourage you to please email us or contact us via social media. It's how we find a lot of our storytellers, to be honest. I think that's how we found Ida, right? Through Instagram. So please do send us an email, awkwardteenageyears@gmail.com. We're most active on Instagram. We encourage you to follow us there. It's where we post the most about our show. We have a Twitter account. What's going on with Twitter? Right? I thought it was dead. Now it's not dead. It's still run by a maniac. I don't know. So maybe we won't have a Twitter account. But we have one for the moment, if that's your thing. And then we have all of our old shows are on YouTube. So we don't have like a special handle on YouTube. You just gotta search, old school. Type it all in, Awkward Teenage Years, and you'll find all of the shows we've ever done. We did this show here in 2020. Me and Grant and Anastasia Maximenko at the Frigid Festival, and then the pandemic started right after we closed the show. So then we did like 13 shows on the internet back when that was a thing. You don't have to watch those. They're weird. It was weird. It was fun. They're good stories, but it's weird to watch it now. I did it the other night. And then we've done like a dozen shows back in person, and those are all there for you to enjoy if you would like. So that's my little song and dance about our show. And yeah, so let's get on to our final storyteller of the night. She is a comedian and storyteller who just performed her solo show called Asian Divorce at Edinburgh Fringe this summer, which I'm very jealous that you did that. I'm scared to do it myself, really. That's what it is. So I'm impressed that you did that. Please welcome to the stage for the first time on our show, Ann Chun.
I give up for Will and all the storytellers you've seen today. So great, so great. So it's 2004, and I'm 13. I'm attending a small international school outside of Bangkok, Thailand. And my crew and I, we're 6 girls, and we're from all over the world. And each of us have like different levels of sexual experiences. So for example, one of the Scandinavian girls named Karina, she was telling me about her first time. And I just go, hold up. You're saying you finished? And you're finished? She's like, shut the fuck up, man. That was the beginning of my comedic genius, guys. And Karina has a best friend who is from Thailand, like me. But unlike me, she has sexy freckles and hazel eyes, like that Kelly Clarkson song, and cupsy boobs. Okay. Yeah. So that can only mean one thing, is that her name must be Heather, right? All the popular it girls in the early 2000s have this name. And it is definitely not Anne, let me tell you that. That was maybe like a hot chick name in like 14th century Britain, okay? So, yeah, as you can tell, I'm one of the stragglers. It's not like I had big braces or anything, but I am skinny, lanky. My chest is as flat as a cheese board. Okay, stop looking, perverts. And every time I try to be pretty, like put on makeup, it looks like someone just beat the shit out of me. Okay, so I did not know how to look hot. And, I haven't had a boyfriend yet. My first crush was my gay best friend in 5th grade. So nothing really romantic happened there. And I overcompensated my lack of sexual experience by telling sex jokes, like the one you just heard in the beginning. Okay. And every time I would tell them, Heather would be like, oh my God, you're so gross, shut up. So one day we have a new student join our class, and his name is Yuki, and he looks like that hot guy in a basketball anime TV show. Oh my gosh. Yuki wears, his uniform's baggy, his pants are kind of low, and he's got this side swept fringe and this golden tan, which I deduced within the first 10 seconds of witnessing his vibe that it must be from beach volleyball, okay? He's a beach volleyball looking guy. Yuki, would be the first thing, he's like the first thing I think of when I wake up. And the crazy thing is I don't know anything about him, okay? We've never talked, but I was just so obsessed. And the only thing that I know about Yuki is that he's 2 years older than me and he's in the same grade, which means that he must not be very smart. Which makes him more attractive to me. Okay. I'm 13, okay? I don't have to worry about mortgage for another 15 years, okay? Who gives a fuck? We have a math teacher. Her name is Miss Lizette. She's from the Philippines, and she's super cool. She got promoted from a teacher's assistant job, which is a huge deal for my school because all of our teachers are white, because that's what international means. But this show is called Awkward Teenage Years and not Post-Colonialism in International Education. So I will save that talk for my future TED Talk, okay? I'm gonna save it for later. So Miss Lizette, she's always asking us what the latest goss is, like who's dating who has beef with who. So naturally, she found out that I have a huge crush on Yuki. One day I walk into algebra class, and I see Yuki sitting next to my desk. And I look at Miss Lizette like, what the fuck? And she smiles and winks at me and then announces to the class, oh, new seating assignments, everyone. And I yell at her, I hate you! With my face, of course. So I sit down, and Miss Lizette starts writing an equation for us to solve in the class, like solving independently. So as I'm checking my answers, I hear a voice. Hey, how do you solve for X? I turn around. It's Yuki. My heart jumps up to my face and then drops down to my stomach. I hear this ringing voice in my ear, and I'm looking at him, and I am at a complete loss for words. So my body just jumps up, and I run straight out of the door into the bathroom like I ate too many fried chicken wings. I lock myself up in a bathroom stall, and I curl up on the floor. And I'm crying. Like, oh my God, Yuki probably thinks I'm crazy. Everyone probably thinks I'm crazy. What happened? Like, why am I so weird? I can never go back in that class. A few minutes later, someone opens the bathroom door and I hear a voice asking, Ann, are you okay? It's Heather. And, I tell her I'm fine because it's the early 2000s and we don't give honest answers to that question yet. She asked me what happened, and I pause. And I can't see her face, but I can see her shoes. You know, she's standing firmly planted on the floor. She's not pacing around. You know, she's waiting patiently for me to calm down. So, you know, I tell her, like, I don't know what happened. Like, I just got so nervous, and I just found myself running here. I don't know, what should I do now? And she said, well, you should come out here and go back to class. I'll walk with you. It'll be okay. And after much resistance, you know, I get up, I open the bathroom stall, and she gives me a hug. And for a blip second, I feel seen and understood by her. Just right before, I felt self-conscious about my chest pressing up against her boobs like a panini press. Okay. So Heather and I, we walk back to class. It's dreadful. We open the door, and Miss Lizette's right there, and she, you know, whispered to me, like, what happened? And I look at her like, it's your fault. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to, like, cause another drama. So I sit back down, and Yuki's just, like, quiet. And we resume the rest of the class. Miss Lizette continues to, you know, continue with her equations and lessons. And flash forward weeks later, you know, Yuki and I, we're still desk mates until the seating assignments change. And I wish I could tell you, like, oh, we end up kissing, or I end up giving him secret math lessons that turn into hot, steamy, you know, make-out sessions. No, none of that happened. None at all. I think I went farther to saying hi to him once, and that's it. I got less nervous, but never comfortable enough to have, like, a real conversation with him. Very anticlimactic ending, I know. However, after that incident, I realized that, you know, Heather, you know, she's more than a hot girl who happens to be my friend. Like, she's a very caring person who has my back and will drag me out of something worse than a stinky bathroom floor. My feelings. Yeah, so that is my story. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Give it up for Will.
Thanks, Ann. All right, folks, that's our show. Let's hear it one more time for all of our storytellers. For Grace and Grant and Ida and Jameer, and for Ann. Let's also hear it for our house manager, Cameron. Up in the booth, Lauren. Flawless performance once again. We do this every month. We usually do the first Thursday. We're not going to do that in 2023. We don't know what day we're going to do yet. So, yeah, we're going to tell you. So make sure you're following us on the Instagram for an update on that. But it'll be the first week of January sometime. And I wanted to make one more announcement. I meant to do this way earlier in the show, but I forgot. Frigid Fest is coming back in 2023. That's a major fringe festival that happens here and at the Crane Theater in February and in March. And I haven't really told anybody this yet, but I'm doing another solo show at the Frigid Fest in 2023. So yeah, if you enjoyed any of this, you'll probably enjoy that. It's called Syncope, and it's about my journey with marijuana and panic disorder. So that's going to be fun. So please come see that. Follow me on the Instagram for more about that. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and we'll see you in January.